And we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake, and thanks for your patience on this one. We don't get every game early, but today we're talking about Gran Turismo 7. PlayStation's big racing sim franchise is back here with the latest from the developers Polyphony Digital. Now, if you've never played a GT game before, and I don't really think we've done any Before You Buy videos for any of them really, just know that they are high quality, typically painstakingly detailed racing simulation games. And 7 continues the trend here, straight up. It's another Gran Turismo game, and it's got a lot to offer. It's a little bit different from the pack, a different style of play and gameplay layout than your standard racing games, and a few other little things I'll get into, because there's definitely some good and bad here, but Gran Turismo racing is skewed more towards the realer side of things. You're not barreling through traffic or hitting cool jumps in the desert really as much. No, you're on race courses and the game demands perfection. I'm talking by the book, clean racing. It's the name of the game here. So you should know that going in if you've never played these. It's all car passion and races, and not really too much personality. That's kind of unfair though, because these games do kind of have their own distinct identity. Now, what's refreshing to some is just how simple and kind of old-fashioned Gran Turismo is. It's basically a career racing map that you grind through by yourself. You know, the multiplayer is there, but the main focus on the main map is just you racing, cars, collecting, and tuning. It's kind of humble and not overblown, which is nice. Unfortunately, you do need to be connected to the internet and GT servers to play the single player, which is an odd choice, but otherwise, the solo fare is pretty decent. There are a lot of menus and pages and screens. These games have always kind of had that, and if anything, GT7 doubles down on it. You need to grind through and progress by completing races and winning and collecting certain cars. Now, you're gonna need to progress for a few hours to actually unlock everything, like the multiplayer lobbies and stuff. A lot of the main gist is working through the cafe menus. Now, you go to the cafe on the map and they give you these menus that give you certain tasks to complete, almost like little mission objectives in order to unlock more races on the world race map and stuff. It all works fine and good if it's a bit simple and a little repetitive, but if you like cars, completing a lot of this stuff nets you fun little factoids and a little overview conversation about certain cars or brands or styles, new and old. You're often given like a whole history lesson complete with old archival footage or photos, and it can be pretty interesting. Each car has listings and like a little bit of history or a video you can access too, as well as a link to their official website. I actually really like all this. This is the game's main charm, what it really has to offer, just cool car enthusiast stuff. Where it stumbles is trying to inject a little more personality to the world map career progression stuff. There are all these characters that talk to you about cars and what to do next, and most of the time they just look like little stock image people, and some of it can get a little old after a while. It's just kind of simple, you know, inoffensive stuff, but it might come off extremely bland to some. Still, despite spending so much time in menus and maps, that's the Gran Turismo thing. It always felt like a car enthusiast chill lounge, from, you know, the music to the presentation. And that definitely continues here. As much as you're having fun racing and stuff, there's a lot of fun in looking at the individual stats of every car and going in and fine-tuning things, tweaking your tires, buying a new computer for your car, tweaking the camshaft, suspension, anything really. And it's just like kind of like you're hanging out and looking at some stats and having fun, if that's your type of thing. Cars still don't show any damage modeling though. Like there's no damage. Just keep that in mind. I know that still really pisses some people off. What I really do enjoy is the distinct music. You know, they've always had a good thing going with kind of relaxing music that isn't always popular licensed tracks. You know, they've used jazz a lot in the past sometimes, and just kind of more loungy music, like lounge music. I don't know what that genre is, but here they do some cool like classical music, modern music fusion that just gives it some cool identity. And of course, there are still some licensed tracks too for during the races that are of various genres. But the races themselves, man, like I said, the gameplay requires a bit more realistic precision, and it all feels pretty damn great. Racing is challenging, and the sense of speed is decent, if not really over the top. The best thing about it is the DualSense implementation, at least for me. You feel the road through the haptic feedbacks. You know, if you hit a curb or like a side bumper, the acceleration and the braking have some tension to them in the triggers, and shifting gears feels significant through the controller. It's like significant, and it's harder or softer shifts depending on the type of car you're using, which is pretty sweet. I was expecting that level of detail just playing previous games, and I'm glad I got it here. Also, the assists are really well done here, especially if you've never played these. I will say, even depending on which option you choose jumping in, a lot of the assists are turned on, and it makes the game just straight up way less fun. They're not like assists to make driving easier, they almost straight up just feel like shackles that make the game and make the driving boring. But don't get me wrong, having assists is good, playing with assists is fine. Plenty of people need them and it's understandable, but we've just seen them implemented in games better. You can have plenty of assists and it can still feel fun, and with Gran Turismo it doesn't really, it feels super stiff. Thankfully, the game, through the licensed training system that serves as kind of like both tutorials and mini challenges, does a good job of actually teaching you the game and the ins and outs of braking and cornering and being precise and racing all proper like. Now, as you go, you'll find yourself turning off more and more of the assists if you want. I found a sweet spot after quite a few hours of having about 85-90% of them switched off. I like driving aggressively, and even if the game doesn't really want me to do that, it still kind of lets me do that, and I'm glad for it. Still, the level of options and freedoms is great, and I just thought it was worth highlighting for like beginners and enthusiasts. Without practice, cars will just feel like boats that don't turn but are also extremely slippery, and it might disappoint some people at the jump, but with time you can really get into it and figure out how to master a course. And for the race courses, there are a lot of options. You know, you want simple arcade races, you want something longer with a ton of laps, you want like this like grueling realistic race, you want a different time of day, or maybe even rain, which they do a good job with here. You get all these options, and the game tracks everything in this cool like career page with your little customizable guy. And your car miles will go up, and you'll need to do oil changes and wash your car and everything. The deeper dive detail stuff is there if you want it. It's probably one of the more intense versions on console, at least, and along with that, just fun stuff like photo mode that is actually a bit different than from what you'd usually see in a game photo mode. I actually found myself kind of liking it as an alternative, and you can access online modes once you unlock them, as well as the cooler, like higher tier specific online events that you have to register for and everything. It seems like there's some really good possibilities there. The game, it's straightforward and simple, really. There's not too much to say about it. There's a good amount of courses, variations on them. The offering of cars is good. Yes, there is a DeLorean. I'm very happy about that. You know, the features all seem to pretty much be there. It's just all in a bit more of a rigid, more tame, calm, chill package. You know, you might think it's boring, or you might think it's classy. It depends on who you ask, and it depends what type of racing game you're looking for. And visually, the game looks great. This is the PS5 version here running, and it is quite the looker. Interiors are detailed to the point where like the car hood will sometimes reflect onto the windshield glass. Everything is lovingly and painstakingly modeled here from the cars we were able to check out, and environments and textures look really good, especially when the lighting is like flexing during a certain time of day, or you know, maybe a little neon in the rain-soaked streets. And I've had no issues with performance while I was playing either. Now, there are microtransactions though, and they seem to be rubbing people the wrong way. You could spend real money to buy in-game currency to buy more cars quicker. Now, the currency payouts that you earn through racing and stuff aren't necessarily terrible, but you do have to put some work in to get the cars you want, or you could just buy your way to them. It's right there. And they're not cheap. The game always presents the option to top off your credits in the PlayStation Store, like front and center when you're looking at your currency or when you earn more, which seems egregious to say the least. I spent $70 on this game, and I think they could relax a little bit. That's just me, but I'm just telling you what's in the game so you're aware. GT7 seems like a good platform for a few years of good sim racing on PlayStation, even if there isn't too much to say about it at first glance. Despite the issues here and there and the weirdness, I did still find myself getting sucked in racing for hours and hours just because it is still so satisfying on a base racing level. And for me, that was the most important part. I really got sucked in. That's actually kind of why this video is going up so late, is that I kept playing. So like, I'll admit that. Personally though, I did also technically skip the last 2 games, so this is a bit more refreshing for me, but I've played enough of these games to always know what I'm going into. So your mileage may vary if you play every single one, but that's where we're at here. That's a quick outline and some gameplay. This is a before you buy. You know how this goes down by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now I want to hear yours down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what type of car you're rocking. Let me know one of your favorite cars. Let me know your history with the series. My first was Gran Turismo 2 for the original PlayStation, and man, that game freaking kicked ass. But anyway, let's talk about anything GT7. We want to hear from you guys. If this video helped you out, maybe informed you a little bit, all you got to do is click the like button. We would really appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.